Hello, everyone that's joining, and welcome again to today's Toolbox Tuesday session. We'll be talking about the Kit of Parts pilot program in partnership with the Active Transportation Resource Center and three wonderful communities that led and hosted demonstrations. So we will get started now. My name is Alina Borja, and I'm a community engagement specialist at SCAG. I was lucky enough to be part of this project. Before we get started, let's go through some housekeeping items. The meeting length of this session will be approximately 1 hour. This meeting will be recorded. The recording will be posted to the SCAG website after this week as well. All participant lines will be muted. At the end, there will be a question and answer session of approximately 15 minutes. If you have a question during the presentation, please feel free to type it into the chat box or press the raise hand function. Please type it into the chat box and we'll answer it at the end during the Q&A session. I'll be monitoring the chat so I don't miss any of your questions. We will log all questions and then voice a selection of them at the end of the presentation during the Q&A. And a recording of this webinar and the PowerPoint slides will be available at the SCAG website, and everyone who has registered is going to receive a link to that. So to present our agenda today, first I'm going to hand it off over to Caro Jauregui from CalWalks to provide an overview of this program. Then a speaker from the Paradise Community Event, Carrie Vanderbaum from the Butte County Department of Public Health will do an overview of that event. Stacy Sousa Elms from Community and Economic Development, the Community and Economic Development Director from the City of Los Banos will be doing an overview of that event. Suzy Rico Vasquez from the Fresno County Department of Public Health will speak on the Fresno event. And then we'll go into recommendations and next steps from Caro. And for the Q&A portion, Marina Ramirez from CalWalks will also join the presentation to help us answer some questions. And without further ado, I will pass it over to Caro.
Thank you so much, Alina, and thank you so much, all of you, for making the time to join us today. So I wanted to offer a program overview. So why this program? The purpose of the Kit of Parts pilot project was to pilot the Kit of Parts for community engagement that can be used for future active transportation program applications, and to evaluate the viability of providing a long-term statewide Kit of Parts program through the Active Transportation Resource Center. This pilot program provided research to explore the feasibility and sustainment of a long-term Kit of Parts loan program within the ATRC. And this on-the-ground research also provided information regarding whether or not a Kit of Parts program component should be added to future active transportation program applications, or the ATP. So what is the Go Human Kit of Parts? The Kit of Parts is a lending library of temporary demonstration materials that can be used to test out street design elements and active transportation safety improvements. CalWalks and SCAG entered into an agreement for California Walks to borrow the Kit of Parts on behalf of 3 communities across California. And you will be hearing from those 3 communities today. SCAG's Go Human Kit of Parts has materials for the following temporary demonstrations. They are listed here: an artistic crosswalk, a separated bike lane, a curb extension, a parklet, and a median refuge island. Before we move forward with sharing the specifics about what happened with every community, I wanted to share with you a general timeline of how this project happened. So here it is. The Active Transportation Resource Center, ATRC, hired us, California Walks, CalWalks, to implement its Go Human Kit of Parts pilot program at the end of March of 2022, with all tasks needing to be delivered by the end of February 2023, which is where we are in today. So I've shared out the phases, the activities into phases. Phase 1 was the program outreach and community selection, which happened roughly from April 2022 to July 2022. Phase 2 was the event planning phase, which happened roughly from August 2022 to December 2022. Phase 3 was the deployment or implementation, so when the actual temporary demonstrations happened, and that was October 2022 to December 2022. Phase 4, which we are still in and are wrapping up, the evaluation and shared lessons learned started roughly around December and is ending in February. So next, I'm going to pass it on to Carrie, the amazing Carrie of Butte County Department of Public Health, who will share about their experience with this program and working on the events, hosting the events in the town of Paradise. Carrie?
Thank you so much. So I'm Carrie from Butte County Public Health. I work for the Injury Prevention Program, in which one of the components is bike and pedestrian safety. So we held our event in Paradise, California. If you're not familiar with Paradise, it is located, I'd say about 3-ish hours north of Sacramento or 20 minutes east of Chico. It's a mountainous rural area, and they are in the midst of rebuilding since the 2018 Camp Fire. So there's a lot of really big trucks and traffic related to that rebuilding that is all over the town. Our event was held on Thursday, October 27th. We held the demonstration along Pence Road, where there's a new path that was completed in the summer of 2021. Pence Road is a key route to Paradise Ridge Elementary School. So for our demonstration at one end of Pence Road, just off of Wagstaff, we used the separated bike lane equipment that was a part of the kit of parts, and we actually used it as a separated pedestrian path. On the other end of Pence Road, we had the creative crosswalk. So it crossed the intersection from Billy Road to get to Pence Road, and then onto the path, the protected sidewalk that kids and other folks taking part in this event could get up to Paradise Ridge Elementary School. We also had something we called the Colorful Driveway Competition, which I'll talk about here in a minute. Along with our event, we held a walking school bus, and at each end of Pence Road, so at Wagstaff and Billy, were places that kids could get dropped off by their parents or family members. So we had about 90 individuals who took part in the whole entire demonstration throughout the day. We had volunteers from Chico State, or California State University, Chico. We worked with a class there to get them involved. We also had volunteers from the CHP, Paradise PD or Police Department, some of their senior volunteers, as well as we worked with other partners from the school, the Boys and Girls Club that's located on their campus. And I know there's someone else I'm forgetting, but we had some wonderful volunteers. We had about 36 students and their family members participate in the walking school bus. And then we had about 33 parents, students, and other community members who stopped by to take part in the demonstration, and that filled out the survey. And then we had 9 students who created those colorful driveways for us that we printed out and blew up and placed along the Pence Road driveways. So that idea about the colorful driveways came from the town of Paradise, the public works director, because there was a lot of driveways along the path that we were going to be using that led to existing homes, some other businesses, as well as empty lots that had potential for some of that truck movement that's all happening all over the town. We were able to end the day on a really high note with the Boys and Girls Club that's on the Paradise Ridge Elementary School campus. So we had 60 kids and their staff members who walked down the path to Billy Road to experience the colorful crosswalk, as well as the artistic driveways. We awarded art winners when they got down to the destination on Billy Road, and then they all walked back up to the school and their site at the Boys and Girls Club. So why the town of Paradise? Well, for us, that was a really interesting question. Originally, we were supposed to do this event in Chico and had done a lot of planning and legwork to conduct it in Chico. And however, the city of Chico has been going through a lot of different changes and they lacked the capacity. So we quickly had to pivot and find another partner to do this demonstration. And the town of Paradise, they've been a wonderful partner in so many different ways. And so we reached out and they were very excited about it. We were already doing work with the elementary school. So it was an easy, but really, really great pivot that we were able to do, and kind of at the last minute. This was very important. Well, actually, for both the places that for the place in Chico that we were originally going to do it, to the place in Paradise that we did do it, both were very important because one, kind of underserved areas. We had great partners with the school. In Chico, we had a great partner with the school and the homeless shelter in the area that we were planning to do it. And both the areas really lack infrastructure, to support that safe, active transportation. So Town of Paradise or the place in Chico, we really identified because it was a great opportunity to collect that survey data, observational data, and the experiences that we're going to complement the work that they're going to be doing, they're planning on doing, or already doing. And so really being able to identify different challenges that they might experience, or we did experience even doing this demonstration, and truly using a stakeholder approach and the community-based approach. It was very exciting. And again, very just important to be able to collect that information to help lead and inform future projects. So of course, there's a lot that goes into the planning process. I'm just going to highlight a few because I know that the other communities probably experience similar things, but also really interesting things. First off, the really positive thing I think about this experience was just how wonderful the partners were, and that the excitement that they all had, and the willingness of, jumping on board with this this demonstration, and then also quickly pivoting with us when we had to make a lot of changes. That was really, really great. It also helped to just build better partners. So groups that may have been a little bit newer to us. I think this was, really showed that we had an investment in them. And so I think that was probably one of the best things that came out of, working with these different communities. The challenges, of course, working with city government and understanding and learning their constraints was definitely an important learning opportunity for us. And then, of course, the timeline and the changes to the timeline, because contracts, with ATRC and Caltrans and others, really, there was a lot of changes that had to be made to the timeline. It slowed some of the momentum we had built with the planning process. And it also really changed, things that maybe don't get thought about, like the weather and sunlight. So in Paradise, because it is a mountainous town, bumping it into October, we were really concerned about the cold. There was, potential for snow and rain, which really would have, either canceled our event altogether or just really would have minimized the participation that we had. And then, of course, bumping it into October, the end of October, it affected the sunlight as well. So we were setting up in the dark and really had to make adjustments for that and rely on our wonderful partners to help provide safety for us while we were doing that in the dark. Finally, we learned a lot, and we're going to be able to leverage this experience, as I mentioned, some of the things that we had learned as we move forward, and we continue to try making changes in the communities across the county. We really would like to do more of this across the county in different, some of our different more rural communities. We learned so much. It was something that I really was looking forward personally to learning, because I had yet to do something like this. And then, of course, just being able to identify those challenges so that we can make it better as we move forward. And even with our challenges with the city of Chico, again, this is why we do pilot projects, right? Because it really improved and has increased some of the conversations that we're going to be able to have with them and rebuild our partnership with them with the new leadership that they have over there. So I look at this as nothing but a positive experience. All right, so thank you so much for letting us share. Next, we have Stacy from the City of Los Banos.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, so in the City of Los Banos, we held our event in November, at the end of November, and we held 2 temporary demonstrations, and they were held downtown. So you can see in that map on the slide that 6th Street and through the city, it's north and south, and it is our main street. So it is basically our core business district for our downtown. And what you're not seeing on that map is that on the south side of 6th Street, it connects to State Route 152. In Los Banos, we're located in the Central Valley. We're located in Merced County, and we're on the west side of Merced County. We are in between I-5, so Interstate 5 and 99, Highway 99, and State Route 152 runs east and west through the Central Valley, connecting I-5, 99, and then it also connects to 101 and Highway 1. So Los Banos, that highway runs through the middle of our city, and 6th Street is our main street. So it is a vital artery within the city and our core business district for our downtown. So that's why we chose to do the demonstrations there. Also, we applied for this opportunity because we're in the middle of a downtown master plan. So determining what we want our downtown in terms of active transportation, look, feel, what we want that to be, we're developing that right now. So what better time? It just seemed perfect timing for us to apply, which we were so thankful to be awarded and to be a part of this process. So we had a parklet demonstration on 6th Street, and that parklet was in front of a pizzeria, a downtown pizzeria, and we have some pictures that I'll show you in a couple of slides of what that looked like. And then we also had a demonstration of a curb extension. This was at I Street and 6th Street and in front of the Bank of America. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of pedestrians going to the bank, a lot of merchants, a lot of vehicle traffic. So those were pretty amazing demonstrations that we were able to do in real life. We had 103 community members that participated in the surveys, which for Los Banos, a small community, we're just about 46,000 people. And we're also a rural community. Basically, we're most agricultural based. Getting participation like that was really exciting. I know Marina was there with us, and from CalWalks, and she just knew how excited we were to get more than 20 participants to participate in a survey. So we were really extremely happy with 103. We had over 80 individuals that actually participated in the demonstration. Those ranged from merchants, community members, school children, families, city council members, downtown association members, and everybody in between. And so that for us, we were very pleased with the amount of participation. And one thing that this demonstration, both of these demonstrations highlighted, is that it seemed like a lot of people in the community weren't aware of these types of infrastructure that are possible for the community. Parklets became very popular during COVID as restaurants were closed for indoor dining. But in Los Banos, we didn't see a lot of that in our downtown. So explaining what a parklet is, there was a lot of educating, and then also on the bulb out of the crosswalk demonstration, explaining that as well. We didn't have a lot of folks that knew what those were. So it was very interesting to be able to educate the community on the potential and the opportunities that we could have in our community. And so, like I said, so the city is developing a downtown master plan. We're working with Mark Thomas and PlaceWorks, and the intent is to improve the safety and comfort of pedestrians and bicyclists. These improvements include curb extensions, mid-block extensions, parklets, and more. And the large format boards that are illustrated with these improvements were placed near the demonstrations for community members to also give us feedback. So we were able to use our consultants that are developing that downtown master plan to show 3D renderings of what those improvements could look like in Los Banos in a real life simulation, basically on boards. And then they were able to actually see the improvements on a temporary basis on what that would feel like in real life. So for the city of Los Banos, it was a really great opportunity to participate. So why Los Banos? Well, like I said, we're working on this downtown master plan. It was perfect timing. We have been conducting workshops with the community, but those have just been, in-person workshops with aerials and maps. And this pop-up demonstration, and that's what we called it, a pop-up demonstration, really gave us the ability to bring that workshop to the people. And get the opinion and get to be able to get feedback from the people that will actually be using it. And most of us in public service or government, getting public participation is not always the easiest thing to get, and especially in something as important as developing your downtown. And so being able to have this pop-up demonstration and get that feedback was really important to us. And the intent for at least the city in developing the downtown master plan and in coordination being able to have these demonstrations is to help us be able to apply for future funding for ATP, Active Transportation Program funding, for these projects in our downtown. So the planning process, for Los Banos, I will say it was pretty simple and pretty smooth, and that's probably because first off, we weren't on a state route highway. This is a city, this is a local street. So we didn't have multiple agencies to deal with. And then another factor that made it easier was that the public right-of-way is within the jurisdiction of the City of Los Banos. So again, it didn't have to go through another agency. That's the City of Los Banos. So there wasn't an encroachment permit that I needed to apply for. I just coordinated with my public works department that helped us that day stand up the demonstration, and we were on our way. I will say that the planning process with California Walks, amazing. Cato and Marina were just amazing folks to work with. If we have another opportunity to do this, we definitely will. It was so streamlined. We had been on the same page since day one of what this would be, what our intent was, what we wanted to get out of this demonstration, that the day of the demonstration, everything went smoothly. You couldn't ask for a better event. So it was great. So these are pictures of these two demonstrations, the curb extension. So one thing I missed in the map was explaining that we have 2 elementary schools that are also located downtown, which impact the traffic heavily in a downtown that wasn't designed really for that type of traffic. It was designed in the late 1800s. And now it's just very vehicle heavy. There is really not substantial improvement, or improvements is what I would call them, infrastructure for pedestrians. There is sidewalks, there are crosswalks, but there's a lot of conflicts between the pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles all being kind of concentrated in the downtown. The next picture that's on the right-hand side is a resident enjoying the parklet. This is in front of the pizzeria. She was having a slice of pizza, one of our local residents, and it was a beautiful day. We couldn't ask for better weather at the end of November, and it was just a really great way to show the possibility. This pizzeria owner was ecstatic that we partnered with him and asked if we could have this demonstration in front of his business. Ecstatic that the city was looking at this opportunity. So all in all, it was a great demonstration, great opportunity. And so leveraging this experience for us, we will be utilizing this, as I said, for funding opportunities. It is helping us develop that downtown master plan and being able to utilize that feedback, that public participation firsthand to be able to incorporate that within that guiding document for our community. And that concludes my slide. So I'm going to kick it over to Susie with Fresno. Susie, you're on mute.
Oops, I'm so sorry, I was on mute. Okay, here we go. So our event in Fresno was a great event and very successful. On Thursday, December 8th, we hosted two temporary demonstrations, and both of them were located along California Avenue. We implemented a bike protected lane that was on the north side of East California Avenue between Waterman Avenue and Kern Street. So as you can see in the map, there's a dot. That dot there is where we started the bike lane, and it ended at Kern Street, between Waterman Avenue and Kern Street. The second implementation was the creative crosswalk. That was set at the west leg of East California Avenue along South MLK Junior Boulevard intersection. Oh, I'm gonna go one back. What I really wanted to say about this map and where we placed the two temporary demonstrations was we have a high school along this route, and we have a few elementary school sites in the neighborhood areas. So this is really a heavily a heavy road for foot traffic, pedestrian traffic, as well as vehicle traffic. And it's very, very fast along California Avenue, considering that we have so many schools along this route. So we had 80 community members, students, parents, business owners, and stakeholders who completed a survey. Majority of our respondents supported this demonstration, both demonstration projects. There were over 100 individuals who participated in the demonstrations itself. What I really wanted to say about this slide here is that we really had strong interest and support from residents. The residents showed up, helped with the other resident engagement, and really helped to get more surveys completed. So I would say all in all, our project in Fresno was extremely successful. And the amount of surveys that were collected for this day and this time, considering the weather that we had, was phenomenal. So why Fresno? I think this pilot project was pretty key, and it was perfect timing for us in Fresno. The 93706 community was really ready for this pilot. In 2000, we partnered with the Fresno Housing Authority and Every Neighborhood Partnership to complete a CalWalks application to do a walking and biking audit, which is super successful, and developed a final report. From that final report, it really gave momentum to this project that we just recently implemented here. So this project, from the walk audit, this really inspired our local residents to keep the momentum and motivation to improve, beautify, and and support any of the safe routes to school efforts in this community. So the planning process for us, I have to say that our department, this was one big learning curve for the Department of Public Health. It was definitely an honor to work with the CalWalks team, to work with the City of Fresno, and Every Neighborhood Partnership on this project. It really helped broaden our view, and it forced us to learn a few things from the health department perspective. We learned and understood more about public safety, our staff safety aspect, and it helped us learn from the public works perspective on safety at all levels. We also learned how to complete a special permits application, and I just want to do a quick shout out to the city because David was phenomenal and walked us through that process. Ultimately, I think it took about 9 different departments to sign off on that special permits application. And it went off without a hitch. CalWalks helped us with the certificate of insurance and liability. And they also helped us with the traffic control, safety plans and requirements for those certificates of liability that were standard. It helped us learn more about traffic control and working with another contracting agency to make sure that there was a safety plan instituted for this project. Internally, I mean, like my final point on the planning process is because I definitely agree with other partners who did the pilot in other communities. Internally, I think the staff here at the department had to learn more about policies and procedures internally about certificates of insurance, risk, staff liability, funding projects associated to support tactical urbanism projects such as this one. And all to say, with all these challenges that we had and the solutions that were implemented, we had an extremely successful project. It really helped us to be more open and honest and have open, honest communication with the City of Fresno to really support this project moving forward. And we just want to thank everyone for the collaborative efforts at the end of the day to make this project see it through. So leveraging this experience, since this project was successfully implemented, the health department would like to continue to work in our rural communities or other municipalities and continue to work with our CBOs to help conduct community resident engagement for cities who want to apply for ATP funding. In the city of Fresno, our next step is to continue to reach out to them, to the City of Fresno Public Works Department, and work towards developing policies and resolutions that will help implement temporary demonstration pop-up sites. I think that was probably one of the root and core challenges of why we had so many challenges along the way. We'd like to continue to help CBOs and other government agencies or residents streamline that process, the planning and the implementation process to host more pop-up demonstration sites. Looking forward, these example policies and resolutions can help other municipalities see that this type of engagement, it works and it's valuable, and it should be the standard practice when doing ATP funding or funding ATP projects. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Caro.
Thank you so much, Susie, and thank you so much to all of our speakers so far. So since this is a Toolbox Tuesday, we wanted to make sure that you walked away with, you know, some concrete next steps, some concrete recommendations. So here are some recommendations we'd like to share with you on how you can implement your own demonstrations. So recommendation 1, allow enough planning time to ensure buy-in from the local jurisdictions who own and operate the right-of-way. I feel like Susie right now from Fresno kind of touched on this. In particular, this is what we mean in this point. Consider how buy-in can be determined based on whether or not current policies, procedures, rules, and regulations exist around how to implement temporary demonstrations in a particular community. Recommendation 2, expect and plan for shipping delays due to contracts and payment delays. So I think our speakers were very, very kind. Thank you all. But we did have, due to delays in shipping and contracting, pretty much all of the events had to be rescheduled. And that has to do mostly with what we mentioned, well, in part with what we mentioned in recommendation 1, and in part the buy-in. So again, just 1 and 2 are connected. Give yourself time. The third recommendation we'd like to share is take the time to train volunteers, especially if they need to conduct engagement surveys. And that's what we did in this pilot program. So especially if they need to conduct engagement surveys with residents using these temporary designs and experiencing these temporary designs. The fourth recommendation, which again has also kind of been alluded to already and mentioned by some of our speakers, we recommend that you cover all costs associated with deployment, including payment of special permits, traffic control, and engagement activities by local partners. So just to share a little bit more for us how this looked, under this pilot program, permit fees and traffic control were all paid for by the agency we partnered with at every site if their jurisdiction required it. CalWalks took on a special insurance coverage required by the jurisdiction's special permit application. We also, California Walks also covered all costs associated with contracting with local partners on the ground to support community engagement. And we also took out insurance for the use of SCAG's Go Human Kit of Parts on behalf of all agencies. And then I wanted to share some next steps before we get into our Q&A. And I will post these links in the chat in a bit. The next steps are we actually, you can view on our website, California Walks' website. We have developed summary reports with a lot of really great pictures for every community, and they are up on our website as well as a final recommendations report. We also wanted to make sure that you all knew that the Go Human Kit of Parts is available to use at no cost for agencies, jurisdictions, and community-based organizations in the SCAG region. SCAG has a resource, the Kit of Parts Playbook, that provides a step-by-step guide on how to carry out a demo using the Kit of Parts. So again, if you give me just a few minutes, I will share those links in the chat. I wanted to just say again, thank you all for listening. Thank you to all of our partners. Our three main speakers that spoke today, you were all, the leads at each of your communities, and it really truly was a pleasure working with you. And we know this was a labor of love and that there was a steep learning curve, so we really appreciate you. We want to thank the Active Transportation Resource Center, SCAG, and the California Endowment, who supported us in supporting community partners on the ground for community engagement. Next, we're going to move into the Q&A. I'd like to make sure that Marina Ramirez from California Walks has access to speak as well. For now, I'm going to pass it off to Alina. Let us know if you've seen any questions so far in the chat that you'd like to share with us.
I haven't seen any questions so far in the chat, although I really love the energy that is going on in the chat. Lots of support, lots of celebration. Yes, again, congratulations to all of the leaders that made this possible. Yeah, please let us know if you have any questions in the chat. Feel free to raise your hand as well. I'm also going to add into the chat, I know Caro is gonna link some items. I'm also going to link the SCAG website, which hosts the final reports for each of these wonderful events. So I'm gonna drop that link in the chat here for everyone to access, in addition to the links that Caro will drop. Yeah, please let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Alina. Okay, everybody, putting them in right now, putting in those links. Do we have a shy group today?
Yep, not hearing or seeing any questions. Just a lot of celebration.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm curious about, did you leave anything overnight, any of your materials out overnight? And were there any maintenance issues? Like, were they damaged? Did you have to replace them? Anything like that?
I think I will direct that question to Marina.
Hi, thanks for that question, Tom. This is Marina from CalWalks. For the City of Los Banos, we left the equipment overnight. I think for all of the sites, now that I remember, we left the equipment overnight, not set up. So we did not leave the temporary demonstrations set up, but we left them overnight. For example, in Los Banos, we left them in the public works yard or in another safe location, and they were stored in the trailer. There was no significant damage done to the equipment, but there was some wear and tear that we experienced.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
SCAG, I do see there's a comment about if we could go to the recommendation slide again from Lindsay. We love Lindsay over here.
Yeah, Jennifer, could we bring up that slide again?
There's another question as well.
I didn't see it.
In the chat. Oh, I see it's a direct. Or here's a question from someone that I think is everyone would be interested in the response. The question is, does CalWOX recommend expanding the program statewide through the ATRC? Do you want to take that, Gato?
Oh, sure. The answer is no. I think as mentioned, there were a lot of issues with the timeline changing due to delays in shipping that were ultimately due to delays in contracting, as in paying for shipping so that a container could be shipped from Van Nuys to these various locations, which are not, near Van Nuys. The answer to that directly is no. However, we do in our recommendations report offer suggestions in the sense that maybe a kit of parts loan program could be implemented again, like a version 2 through either the Caltrans districts, so at a more regional level, or also through the COGS at a regional level, or also perhaps through the county departments of public health. We think that could be, it could streamline some of these issues that we had, so that the essence of this work can still happen, just in a different way. And so it would then be implemented and hosted by other folks, rather than one state agency that's intended to manage a lot. I hope that makes sense. And then I actually did see another question from
Yeah,
Victoria.
I think that question is for Susie.
Oh, for Susie, yeah.
Susie mentioned that the permits had to be approved by 9 departments. Could we get a sense of what those 9 departments were?
Well, thank you for asking that question. It was my very first opportunity to work on a special permits application. It's fairly long, especially if you have multiple sites the same day or just different days at multiple sites. So when we finally submitted the special permits application, that was inclusive of the certificates of insurance, just all the required documentation, right? The letters from the store owners saying that we were going to be, on their site, or a letter from the housing department that was also included in there. There was multiple things that had to be checked and provided for in that application process. So when I say 9 departments, I literally wrote down 9 departments on here. And the first department that spoke, it was a virtual conference to review the special permits application all in one shot. We had 1 or more representatives from each department. So this was City of Fresno Public Works. We had fire represented. We had parking, City of Fresno parking. We had planning. Then we had long range planning. We had solid waste, and we had the insurance questions that were associated with the special permits, whoever represents that department. We had buildings, and we had something called CMOs. And that CMO individual also represented the City of Fresno FACS, which is our bus, public transportation. So it literally was reviewed by all of those departments for any and all capacities at the city level. Does that Was that helpful?
Great, thank you, Susie. I see, I'm gonna go with the hand up from Daniel first, and then I will go to the question from Bianca in the chat. So Daniel?
Hey, how's everybody doing? I just wanted to say hi to all my friends. That's all. Just wanted to see you all. Say hi. Just kidding. I do have some feedback, but it is good to see you all. I think since the event, it's just been, yeah, a really, there's a buzz has been created in our city. I think those of you like Caro and some others that have worked with us on this project, you knew that there was already kind of a conversation happening on how we can streamline these types of things here in the city of Fresno. Since then, I've had 2 meetings specifically about enhancing crosswalks, more specifically around schools. So, and that's because they've seen the social media, they've seen the report that came out from our efforts. And so, yeah, there's definitely a buzz about here in Fresno. So I think, Caro, to your point about coming back, you know, if there was like a phase 2, especially in our context, that would be super helpful to help us keep momentum moving forward in regards to seeing long-term placement of policy that would help us do these types of projects more streamlined, I think is a gracious way of saying it. So I would highly encourage that, put my vote in there. And then also because of the nature of E&P and tactical urbanism, yeah, if you all had any recommendations as far as like sourcing equipment, so the temporary banners that you had, and then, you know, the kit of parts, basically, where would a nonprofit like us go to do some shopping and maybe start building up our own kit, as we would also like to eventually do our own projects here in town. Yeah, and yeah, it's good to see you all.
Helena. Let's see. I don't know how to answer that question.
Wait, sorry, Daniel, can I have you repeat that question? Was it like how to get started on those materials?
Yeah, I mean, whoever, you know, provided those materials for the SCAG kit of parts, like
Yeah,
if we could find out who that supplier was, that could set us up to have a conversation, right? It may be the vendor that we
yeah,
go with or not, you know? Yeah, it just may help me in a little bit on my research, right?
yeah.
If you all had somebody to connect us to.
Oh my, I might have to follow up with you on that
Yeah,
one
no
offline because
worries.
I have to do some research about that. Yeah, these
Okay.
materials were created a few years ago. They were designed actually by a nonprofit firm local to LA called the Kunkui Design Initiative, KDI.
Okay.
And they designed like all sorts of incredible tactical urbanism materials and events.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I would have to look into that. Great question.
Thank you.
Oh, Susie, do you have a comment?
Yes, actually, it was more about Victoria's thank you to Daniel about learning more about the policies that we think would be helpful to like streamline the process citywide. We don't really have model policies. So my question or my ask to those people in this networking call, is there any cities that have written policies about pop-up demonstrations and the do's and the don'ts? So that way cities like Fresno can take them and run with them or tweak them to best fit our city's needs?
I can let anyone else on the line answer that question, but I can say, and I'll put this in the chat as well, that SCAG did recently put out the Kit of Parts Activation Playbook, which is kind of a step-by-step guide on how to do an activation that uses the Kit of Parts. So that is at least like one document that kind of outlines the procedures.
Yeah, thank you, Alina. If I could add to that, I know that that's one of the things that Susie and I talked about how that definitely is something that ATRC can maybe do is provide templates for this program, for this type of program. Also, I'm getting lost in all the questions. There's a question that I don't believe has been answered out loud, which is in our Google Doc question 5. I'm gonna,
Yes.
okay, perfect. And then you can answer it, Alina, but I'll ask it. How long does a request take for delivery of the kit of parts? We have an event in early April and we're looking to inquire about a kit of parts in Long Beach. Is this feasible? And that's an Alina question.
Hi, yes, okay, so the how long like an event coordination would take is really depends on where you're doing it, who's the like initiating requester for the event, how big you want it to be. We recommend anywhere from like 3 to 6 months normally, and these events, which were a partnership with the Active Transportation Resource Center and California Walks, we're kind of special. They're a pilot program, that's something we hadn't tried before, and we were partnering with folks from outside of the SCAG region. So that required extra time and resources. For folks inside of the SCAG region, who would like to request a kit of parts, it is available at no cost. And in most cases, SCAG can cover the delivery of the materials. So for the case of Long Beach, I think an event in early April would be feasible. I would love to talk more about that. I can drop my email in the chat, and whoever asked that question, if you could please get in touch with me, we can speak more.
There's one other question, Alina, that I think you might be able to answer, and then I want to make sure that we get to one other one. I know it's 1:58. So there's a question from someone at SCAG. Hi, I'm very new at SCAG. Recently worked on the Duarte Safe Routes Guide. Is this in any way connected to that initiative? I don't know if you can answer that question, Alina.
Not that I am aware of, but I do invite any other SCAG employees to answer that question in the chat if you know the answer to that.
Okay, thank you so much. I see there's a question, another question from Victoria too, but I want to go to this question from Lindsay. I'm wondering if you have broader reflections on the value of this kind of approach to engagement and when it would be most appropriate for communities to use. I can just share in general that I do think this is the future of engagement when it comes to infrastructure changes. I think that's why, I mean, honestly, that's why California Walks applied to this for this opportunity. I don't know that it completely answers your question, Lindsay, but again, I'm just going to say what I just said, which is I believe this is the future for engagement with communities when it comes to infrastructure. I think it's really important for community members and agencies involved in the right, and different departments involved in the right of way to experience what this street will actually look like, and to be able to observe and hear like that on time, direct feedback from community members. It's 2:00.
It is 2:00. I placed my email in the chat. If anyone has any lingering questions, please feel free to contact me. And otherwise, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. It was a great webinar. Thank you.